He took me out to a fancy restaurant, held my hand across the table, and told me he loved me in front of everyone. As the waiter brought out a cake that said, "Will you marry me?" I burst into tears. Until he turned to the girl behind me, got on one knee, and said, I was talking to her. I had been invited to my own public humiliation. My name is Riley Matthews. I'm 26, and until that night, I thought I had my life pretty well figured out. I had a stable job as a content coordinator at a mid-sized marketing agency in Chicago. I had just signed a lease on a cute one-bedroom apartment with a view of the lake, and I had a boyfriend of 3 years, Adam Ross. The kind of boyfriend who brought me flowers on random Thursdays, remembered my coffee ordered down to the oat milk, and made me playlists for every season. I was so sure he was the one. My friends adored him. My mom kept dropping not-so-subtle hints about wedding dresses. Even his dog, Winston, acted like we were already married. So when Adam asked me to keep the night of our 3-year anniversary open, and hinted that he had a surprise planned, I didn't overthink it. I wore my best navy blue dress, the one he once said made my eyes look like moonlight, curled my hair, and wore the perfume he got me last Christmas. He picked me up in a black town car. That should have been my first clue something was off. Adam always drove his own car, even to special events. But I figured maybe he just wanted the night to feel extra special. I even giggled when he climbed in beside me and pulled a single white rose from behind his back. I wanted tonight to feel like a dream, he whispered. I didn't know that was his way of softening the blow. We pulled up to this upscale French-Italian fusion place downtown, the kind of restaurant where the menu doesn't have prices and the waiters wear gloves. The hostess greeted us like we were celebrities. Our table was in the center of the room, under a chandelier that sparkled like 1,000 tiny diamonds. People were watching, and I felt lucky, like I was the star of some fairy tale. As we sat down, Adam reached across the table and took my hand. His eyes were glossy. Riley, he said, I love you. I've always loved you. I felt my heart swell, my throat tighten. I smiled, nodded, blinking away tears. I was so sure this was it. This was the moment. The waiter came over with a large covered platter. He lifted the lid dramatically, revealing a cake, beautifully decorated with gold leaf and buttercream roses. And in the center it said, Will you marry me? My hands flew to my mouth. I stood up. Tears streamed down my cheeks. My whole body shook with happiness, adrenaline, love, all of it. People in the restaurant were clapping, taking out their phones. But then, something strange happened. Adam didn't stand up. Instead, he looked past me, over my shoulder. And then he said, loudly and clearly, I was talking to her. He rose from his chair, walked right past me, and got down on one knee in front of a girl sitting at the table behind me. I didn't even know her name. The world blurred. The clapping slowed. My knees almost buckled. Someone gasped. Someone else laughed awkwardly, unsure if it was a joke. But it wasn't a joke. Adam proposed to her. Right there, in front of me, in front of everyone. And she said yes. I don't remember leaving the restaurant. One moment, I was standing there frozen, and the next, I was outside in the cold, staring at the street like it might swallow me whole. I didn't even have my coat. I'd left my purse under the table. But none of that mattered. The only thing I could feel was the hollowness inside me, like someone had punched a hole through my chest and then just walked away. For 3 years, I had loved Adam, trusted him, believed in every sweet word he'd whispered into my ear during lazy Sunday mornings. And all along, he'd been preparing to humiliate me like that. Who was that girl? Why did he bring me just to do that? My mind was racing, but the pain was louder than the questions. The next morning, I woke up to find social media had already turned my life into a public joke. Someone had recorded the proposal and my reaction and uploaded it. The caption read, "When you think you're the girlfriend, but you're just the decoy." The video had over 1 million views. My coworkers were sending awkward texts. Even my aunt from Texas messaged me asking if I was okay. But then something caught my attention. A comment under the video said, "Wait, isn't that the girl who used to date Caleb?" I stared at it for a long time. Caleb. My ex-boyfriend before Adam. The one who cheated on me with my roommate in college. I hadn't thought about him in years. So why was someone bringing him up now? Curious, I clicked on the profile of the girl Adam had proposed to. Her name was Ava Mitchell. She looked familiar, but not in the casual, I've seen her on Instagram way. I dug deeper. We had mutual friends. And then I saw it, an old tagged photo from 2019. A group of us at a Halloween party. Ava was in the background. She wasn't a stranger. She was Caleb's sister. My stomach flipped. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was something else entirely. Something twisted. Why would Adam propose to her in front of me and act like I was never part of his world? The more I thought about it, the more I realized. This wasn't random. I wasn't invited to my own humiliation. I was targeted. And then came the final blow. I got a message. From Ava. It read, "Now you know how it feels." I stared at Ava's message for minutes, unsure if I was reading it right. Now you know how it feels. What was she talking about? I'd never done anything to her. We barely knew each other back then. I racked my brain, trying to remember any moment that might have justified her revenge. Nothing made sense. Until I remembered something Caleb once said during one of our many arguments, something I'd brushed off at the time. He had accused me of ruining his life. Back then, I thought it was just his way of flipping the blame for his cheating. But what if there was more? I started digging through old texts, emails, anything I still had from those days. I found an old message thread with Caleb from the week we broke up. I'd forgotten that I'd reported him to the university's student board. Not just for cheating on me, but for hacking into my email and spreading lies about me to mutual friends when I tried to cut him off. He ended up on academic probation. Got dropped from his fraternity. His reputation tanked. He deserved it. But now I realize that maybe, to him and to his sister Ava, I had become the villain. And Adam? I didn't even know how he fit into all this. I just knew I needed answers. I sent him a message, a simple one. Why? He didn't respond. But 2 hours later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo. A blurry shot of me and Adam at a music festival from 2 summers ago. We were laughing, drinks in hand, wrapped around each other. The next photo was of me sitting alone on a park bench. Then one of me walking into my apartment building. Someone had been watching me. That wasn't romantic nostalgia. That was surveillance. And then I got the final piece, a screenshot. It was a group chat. The name of the group? Project Payback. The participants? Adam, Ava, and Caleb. Everything inside me turned ice cold. I was never Adam's girlfriend. I was his assignment. I sat on my couch staring at the screen, trying to breathe, but my lungs wouldn't cooperate. The group chat wasn't some deep fake or cruel prank. It was real. There were months of messages, inside jokes, plans, screenshots of my Instagram stories, even discussions about what outfit I'd probably wear to the anniversary dinner. They had been watching me, studying me, manipulating me. Every sweet moment Adam and I had shared was scripted. Every spontaneous gesture, every compliment, every date that had felt like magic, it had all been part of their sick little game. I was their puppet, their entertainment, their revenge. But the worst part, they weren't even subtle about it. One message from Adam read, "We should do it somewhere dramatic. Let her feel special first. It'll hit harder." And Ava had replied with a laughing emoji followed by, "She deserves to cry in front of people." For a second, I thought about disappearing, quitting my job, changing cities, hiding from the digital shame that was eating me alive. But something deeper rose inside me, a rage that tasted like fire. They wanted me to crumble. They wanted the world to laugh at me while they toasted their success. So I did what they'd never expect. I stayed calm. And I started planning. I reached out to an old friend from college, Layla, who now worked in digital forensics. I asked her for help retrieving deleted messages, tracking IPs, digging up anything that could prove just how far this group had gone. Within a day, Layla had unearthed something even I didn't expect. It wasn't just about me. Adam had done this before. 3 years ago, a girl named Harper was publicly dumped at her birthday party. Same setup. Fancy venue. Friends invited. Public embarrassment. And guess who was there? Caleb. Ava, even Adam. Different roles, same pattern. They had a history. This wasn't revenge. It was a game. A twisted sport they played for entertainment, targeting women, building them up, tearing them down, all for laughs and group chat applause. And I was just their latest victim. Until I decided to become their last. The more I dug, the more monstrous it became. There were whispers about 2 more women, one who dropped out of school after a breakup prank went viral, and another who had to leave her job because of the humiliation. I realized something chilling. This group wasn't just toying with emotions, they were destroying lives. And they were good at it. Careful. Strategic. But not careful enough. Layla helped me build a digital archive, every screenshot, voice note, and message mapped and timestamped. But I needed more than proof. I needed impact. I needed them to feel the sting of being exposed just like they'd orchestrated for me. So I crafted my own plan, one that would use their favorite weapon. Public spectacle. I started by texting Adam, just 3 words. Let's talk. Predictably, he took the bait. We met at a coffee shop downtown, a place full of windows with light pouring in and people all around. I wore the same perfume he used to say reminded him of home. I made sure my hands shook just a little when I stirred my coffee. Played the part he expected, the heartbroken girl looking for closure. He leaned back in his chair like he'd already won. I watched him closely. He wasn't even hiding his smugness. I didn't mean to hurt you, he said, barely suppressing a grin. It just got out of hand. That's when I smiled. Because I had planted a tiny lapel mic under my jacket, feeding directly into Leela's phone. And we were streaming it live. To the same page that had shared the viral video of my humiliation. But this time, the story was mine. Then came the final twist. I posted the archive online, but I didn't do it under my name. I sent it anonymously to a digital watchdog blog known for exposing online abuse networks. Within hours, the story went viral, but not the way Adam expected. Headlines called them a predator circle. Ava lost her brand deals. Caleb's employer suspended him pending investigation. Adam fired. His reputation shredded. Their little game was over. But I wasn't done. I sent one last message to the group chat. They once used to laugh about me. I said, "Game over. Your next move is trying to remember what peace feels like." I thought revenge would feel like victory, like the universe balancing itself out. But as the days passed and the chaos unfolded, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt quiet, free in a way I hadn't been for years. I no longer had to shrink myself to fit someone else's fantasy. No more walking on eggshells. No more being the girl people pitied. I was finally the one holding the pen to my own story. But then something happened I didn't expect. Ava messaged me again. Only this time, it wasn't gloating. It was desperate. She wrote, "You've ruined everything. He's missing. Caleb can't find him. No one can. If he does something to himself, it's on you." For a second, my breath caught in my throat. Missing? As much as I hated Adam for what he did, I hadn't wanted this. I didn't want blood on my hands. I didn't want anyone's life destroyed, just the truth exposed. But then I remembered the messages. The planning. The mocking laughter behind my back. And I remembered how they never once paused to consider how I might feel. How the other women must have felt. They didn't break a sweat when we were spiraling. So I stayed silent. A few days later, I got an anonymous email with no subject line and no body text. Just a single attachment. It was a photo, Adam, in what looked like a foreign city. Shaved head, sunglasses, backpack on, blending in, alive and hiding. He wasn't missing. He'd faked his own disappearance. I don't know if it was to escape consequences, guilt, or just to regain control of the narrative. But it confirmed what I had finally accepted. People like Adam will always run when the spotlight isn't flattering. He disappeared from everyone's radar after that. Ava deleted all her accounts. Caleb quietly resurfaced months later with a pathetic apology video no one cared about. As for me, I started writing, blogging, speaking about digital manipulation and emotional abuse. Women started reaching out with their own stories. some heartbreaking, some hauntingly similar to mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a lighthouse in the storm. That night at the restaurant, when he held my hand, looked into my eyes, and told me he loved me, I thought I was living a dream. But it wasn't love. It was performance. And he was never the main character. I was. Always have been. Always will be. Sometimes the people who smile the brightest are the ones hiding the darkest intentions. But no matter how deeply someone tries to humiliate or break you, your power lies in how you rise, not how you fall. Never let someone else write your story. Take the pen back and show them who the real main character is. If you love stories packed with drama, twists, and real-life lessons, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell so you never miss the next jaw-dropping tale, because the next story might just blow your mind even more.